Many WNBA fans are calling out the referee problem.
The referees literally turned their back.
Caitlin Clark appears to be hunted every game. She deals with physicality that no other player in the league is dealing with. The WNBA not stepping in to protect their cash cow, their only draw, their only star, and this is the end result.
They said she'd transform the game. They sold her as the spark of a new era. But no one mentioned the league might fight back. In just a handful of games, Caitlin Clark's rise from the WNBA's golden girl to its most targeted player has been nothing short of jarring.
It's shocking.
Caitlin Clark will be sidelined for at least 2 weeks
with a quad injury.
Bullets has emerged. How Caitlin Clark got hurt.
He fouls her for the 4th time. It's cheating.
Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the interest in the Fever and the interest in the WNBA.
Rookie Caitlin Clark was subject to several intentional fouls.
And it wasn't just the opposing teams. This wasn't some typical rookie learning curve. What played out felt far more intentional and far more threatening.
After every single game, WNBA players, fans, coaches are all complaining about the referees, and they have shown that they're not going to change anything because the referees continue to be horrible.
Game after game, Caitlin absorbed the blows, knocked down, roughed up, and forced to battle through a storm of silence from the officials. The referees, tasked with keeping the game honest, looked more like bystanders in a poorly scripted scene. What began as scattered oversights soon morphed into a full-blown crisis of neglect, with obvious fouls ignored as Clark repeatedly crashed to the floor.
Felines head coach Stephanie White, she was complaining about her team not getting a whistle, not being respected.
Then came the moment everyone feared. Caitlin, benched with a quad injury. And just like that, fans began rewinding the tape. Every uncalled foul, every punishing hit that slipped by, every desperate look she shot at the refs, pleading for a whistle that never came.
She will be out for 2 weeks minimum following a quad strain.
Caitlin Clark and Sophie Cunningham going to the officials and trying to, ask for an explanation of what had just occurred. That official completely stonewalled them.
It stopped looking like chance. It started looking like a plan. And just as the uproar hit full volume, boom, new reports dropped, exposing the cracks in an officiating system more broken than anyone dared to admit.
This is a WNBA problem, and as more and more eyeballs are watching this league, it becomes growingly an issue. The officiating feels you never have a true grasp.
Turns out, a surprising number of the league's referees came straight from high school courts. And they're not even making calls based on instinct or experience. Instead, there's a hidden council, GMs, coaches, league insiders, quietly steering how rough the game should get, leaving officials to follow orders instead of the rule book.
The referees are not listening to them. They're not listening to the coaches. They're not listening to the players. They're not listening to the fans. They're listening to their stakeholders. That's why I keep saying nothing is going to change till the mindset and whoever's running all of this, the stakeholders, governance, whoever these people are.
And Caitlin Clark? She's trapped right at the center of a storm where power, pride, and profit all crash together. Now, after weeks of mounting fury, viral clips lighting up every feed, and even insiders breaking their silence, the WNBA is finally starting to sweat.
If this injury does anything, it should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear overnight.
With whispers of lawsuits and rumors swirling about referee bias, the league's golden star could quickly turn into its greatest risk, unless they move fast. And here's the million-dollar question. How far will they go to silence the very player they've been profiting from since day one?
Caitlin Clark is being roughed up, but the physical wear and tear on Caitlin Clark, I'm not surprised that 2 weeks into the season, she's already got an injury.
Caitlin Clark has never been one to shy away from a challenge. At Iowa, she shattered records, drew in millions of fans, and transformed women's basketball into must-watch prime time. So when she entered the WNBA, The anticipation was electric, not just for her play, but for the surge of energy she promised to bring to a league desperate for a breakthrough.
2024 was a year of unprecedented growth in viewership in the WNBA, a substantial amount of which can be attributed to Caitlin Clark, who took the basketball world by storm after an all-time college career.
Who had appeared in 185 consecutive games between her career at Iowa and her time with the Indiana Fever. 139 games with the Iowa Hawkeyes. She never missed one.
And for a moment, it felt like everything was clicking. Crowds swelled, TV numbers soared to new heights. But rather than welcoming her with open arms, the league greeted Clark with elbows, cold shoulders, and outright hostility from the very start.
Caitlin Clark, somebody who was responsible for 26.5 of all WNBA economic activity last season, including revenue from merchandise, ticket sales, and television.
Caitlin Clark out at least 2 weeks waited, but can the WNBA maintain without her? Can the WNBA pack arenas draw ratings?
From the instant she stepped onto the pro court, it became clear this was more than just a game. It was personal. Every matchup turned into a battle zone. Defenders weren't merely guarding her, they were throwing elbows like it was UFC night. She faced relentless full-court pressure, off-ball grabs, and hits that belonged on a rugby field, not a basketball court. And the refs? Nowhere in sight. Fouls that would have drawn whistles for any other star were shrugged off when it came to Clark. Time after time, she had no choice but to grit her teeth and power through.
The referees just exposed their hand so bad, bro. I mean, they just didn't care no more. They didn't care. The world was watching how bad the cause was. They didn't care at all. They was going to get their issue off against the Fever no matter what. And I'm here to tell you, that's exactly what went down, bro. They have an agenda against Caitlin Clark.
All the while, the league pushed the same worn-out excuse. She just needs to adjust. But why is the burden always on her to change? Why is Caitlin Clark the only star expected to toughen up while others are shielded like royalty? Then came the injury. After grinding through monster minutes night after night, sometimes over 35, Caitlin was sidelined with a left quad strain, out for at least 2 weeks.
Basically said the reason that people are complaining is because they haven't watched the WNBA before, and these are just new fans who don't understand. But there's clearly an issue.
It wasn't just a setback, it was a gut punch to Indiana Fever and a huge blow to the entire WNBA. For countless fans, it didn't feel like a random injury. It felt like the cost of neglect, the inevitable fallout from a season of unchecked aggression and a league that failed to protect the one player keeping the spotlight burning bright.
Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark has suffered a left quadricep strain and will be out for a minimum of 2 weeks.
This wasn't some cruel twist of fate. It was a disaster waiting to happen, one that could have been avoided. What made it hurt even more? The deafening silence. The league stayed quiet, never acknowledging the relentless beatings Caitlin Clark had been forced to endure.
It's the Caitlin Clark disrespect. And what I mean by that is you've got somebody who is obviously the most popular player in basketball. You got somebody that I would argue may be a top 5 most popular athlete in the United States of America. All right. You got this athlete in a league that nobody's been watching, never turned a profit, and your system is broken against that team?
No statements, no apologies, just another name on the injury list. But this wasn't just any name. This was the face of the WNBA's new era, sidelined not because she couldn't handle the pressure, but because the very system designed to protect her turned its back instead.
With the biggest story of the day, and that is the news that DeWanna Bonner is no longer with the Indiana Fever. It was reported last night that DeWanna Bonner had no intentions on returning to the Indiana Fever.
DeWanna Bonner just walked away from Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever in a shocking move that rocked the WNBA. But her attempt to push for a trade to a new team has completely blown up in her face. Now, she's being shut out by the entire league. She's lost millions, and her once strong reputation is in ruins. This is the story of how a respected veteran unraveled her own legacy in just a few weeks, and the swift fallout that came with it.
She said, "I want to sincerely thank the Indiana Fever for the opportunity to be part of the Fever franchise. Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career. I wish the Fever great success as they continue to build around this dynamic group."
The news first came out through a polished corporate-style press release. The Indiana Fever stated they had honored DeWanna Bonner's request for a contract divorce. In her official comment, Bonner offered polite thanks to the organization and vaguely mentioned that, despite aligned goals, the fit just wasn't right. She wished the young roster well as they continued to grow. At first glance, it appeared to be a mutual, respectful separation, a clean professional break. But beneath that courteous veneer was a far messier and more turbulent reality.
If another team claims her off the waivers, she gets her full salary. She gets her full salary if another team claims her off the waivers.
Behind the polished language, a respected veteran was walking away from her team mid-season, unleashing chaos in a locker room, desperate for stability. This wasn't about a poor fit. It was a clear decision to abandon a group of young, impressionable players who had counted on her leadership, leaving them to face the overwhelming media spotlight surrounding Caitlin Clark entirely on their own.
Thing that makes DeWanna Bonner look really, really bad. It makes DB look really, really bad. And it's the fact that she has told all other teams, other than the Mercury, don't sign her.
When a player's contract is ended in the WNBA, they go on waivers. That gives the league's 11 other teams 48 hours to claim the player and take on their full guaranteed salary. In this case, DeWanna Bonner's $200,000 for the season. For a 3-time All-Star with championship pedigree, getting picked up should have been automatic. She was essentially a free veteran addition, a proven scorer who could boost a contender or mentor a young squad. The timer began, but when the 48 hours passed, the only response was silence across the league.
And look, I understand that's where she wants to go. Why didn't she go there in the summer? We know why, because she couldn't have got her max contract. And by the way, people are like, oh, they can give her the minimum. No, they can't. The Phoenix Mercury can give her a prorated $80,000 salary for the rest of the year. So she's only going to lose about 30K-ish.
Not one team submitted a claim. Every franchise in the WNBA assessed the situation and unanimously decided she wasn't worth the risk, even at no cost.
And she's only going to lose, she's going to lose about 40, 50K. Whereas they would have been only able to sign her earlier on. Well, they would only be able to sign her for nothing. Because again, we can't forget as well, the Phoenix Mercury cut Sevgi Uzun. The Phoenix Mercury have a bunch of players signed on hardships and a bunch of players that they can cut. Like they literally cap space magicked up. And as soon as cap space magics up for the India or for the Phoenix Mercury,
that moment shattered any illusion of a mutual, respectful parting. It was a league-wide rejection, a glaring warning sign of how toxic her departure truly was. As the dust settled around her waiver status, details started leaking from behind the scenes. Bonner was allegedly pulling off a bold power move. According to insiders, she was directly contacting teams and urging them not to claim her off waivers. Her plan was to manipulate the system and steer herself to one destination, the Phoenix Mercury. The boldness of this strategy is staggering. We've seen top-tier stars like Jimmy Butler face major backlash for forcing exits. But here was Bonner, at 36, clearly in the latter stages of her career, acting as though she held MVP-level leverage. She wanted to dictate her next landing spot as if she were a free agent, conveniently ignoring that she had just walked out on a valid contract. She was trying to have it both ways, abandon her team, yet still control her future. But her master plan had one critical flaw, one that exposed the miscalculation at the heart of her gamble and turned her ideal landing spot into a looming disappointment. The Phoenix Mercury, the very team she had scorched bridges and alienated the league to join, were reportedly reluctant to bring her aboard. Sources revealed that Phoenix's front office had serious concerns about adding a player who had just showcased a blatant willingness to quit the moment adversity hit. The Mercury were riding high on the momentum of a young, hungry roster that had fully bought into the system and were exceeding expectations. Why risk unraveling that delicate chemistry for a veteran who had just proven she couldn't be relied on when it mattered? Bonner had left Indiana assuming Phoenix would welcome her with open arms, only to find the door wasn't nearly as open as she'd believed. The financial toll of this misstep was just as brutal as the damage to her credibility. By going unclaimed on waivers, DeWanna Bonner automatically lost the remainder of her guaranteed $200,000 contract with the Indiana Fever. When she finally signed with Phoenix, it was for a pro-rated veteran minimum contract for the rest of the season, bringing in roughly $80,000. The math tells the story. She willingly gave up over $120,000. This wasn't some calculated move. It was a disastrous, self-inflicted loss, driven by ego and an overestimation of her leverage. Her failed attempt to control the league's chessboard ended in a six-figure mistake, painting her as both selfish and deeply naive in the eyes of team executives and fans alike. But the consequences extended far beyond money and reputation. The real cost was felt by the person who needed her most, Caitlin Clark. When Bonner joined the Fever, she was promoted as the seasoned leader who would help guide the rookie star through the overwhelming spotlight of her debut season. In early practices and preseason games, Clark looked genuinely eager to learn from her, working hard to build chemistry and soak up the veteran's wisdom. Instead of offering that support, Bonner sent a clear message to Caitlin Clark and the entire young roster that when pressure builds and things get hard, it's perfectly acceptable to quit and walk away. It was a blatant act of professional abandonment. For one of the first times in her rising career, Caitlin Clark was essentially told by a respected veteran that she didn't want to share the court with her. That's not leadership. It's a betrayal of trust that left the league's brightest star and her team reeling. And this brings us to the most disturbing and controversial question of all. Was this entire move planned from the beginning? The timing is simply too suspicious to ignore. Bonner originally signed a headline-making deal with Indiana, placing her directly in the media frenzy that surrounded Caitlin Clark. For weeks, she enjoyed magazine features and packed arenas, reaping the rewards of the Caitlin Clark effect. Then, almost to the exact moment Phoenix miraculously cleared enough salary cap to sign a veteran like her, Bonner suddenly claimed the Indiana situation wasn't the right fit. It all feels less like a snap decision and more like a calculated scheme. Use Indiana for the paycheck and spotlight, then bail the instant your ideal team becomes available. If that's true, this isn't just unprofessional. It's a cynical and deceptive way to treat a franchise, its players, and its fan base.
Man, this just went down. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese going at it. More so, Angel Reese going at Caitlin Clark.
Man, this just happened. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese clashed, mostly Angel Reese targeting Caitlin Clark. Angel Reese believed she could intimidate Caitlin Clark with a confrontation after that third quarter foul. Instead, she unleashed a triple-double beast who went on to dismantle her entire team on national TV.
My goodness gracious. Destroyed the sky in front of a sold-out 17,000+. Fouled Angel Reese. Angel Reese loses her mind, tries to fight Caitlin Clark. It's glorious. The season is back. It is on. A triple-double in the first game back.
When the dust settled at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the scoreboard showed 93-58 in favor of the Fever. Reese faced a 35-point blowout, while Clark had just made WNBA history once more in the season opener. Talk about instant regret and a plan that spectacularly backfired. The moment that shifted everything began with what seemed like a routine basketball play in the third quarter. The Fever were already leading by double digits, and everything was falling into place for Indiana when Angel Reese grabbed an offensive rebound near the basket after a clear push on Natasha Howard to gain position.
If you guys didn't see, right before that play, Angel Reese had some contact with Natasha Howard. Caitlin Clark saw that contact. She turns to the refs and she's like gesturing to them. And this is all happening very, very quick, you guys. She turns to the refs, she's gesturing to them because she believes that Angel Reese fouled Natasha Howard. Now from that, Angel Reese gets the ball. Caitlin Clark realizes she is about to go up for what seems like a wide open layup. Caitlin Clark runs over and fouls her hard, and Angel Reese falls to the ground.
Caitlin Clark, spotting an easy scoring chance, made a split-second choice to stop Reese from adding 2 easy points to Chicago's total. Clark reached in and made contact with Reese's shoulders and upper body, knocking her to the floor. At first, the refs called it a common foul, something routine in any WNBA game. But then the officials huddled to review the play, and the energy in Gainbridge Fieldhouse instantly shifted. After a lengthy review, the referees upgraded the call to a flagrant foul. The crowd reacted immediately. Booing filled the arena as fans believed their star player was being unfairly targeted. Clark, meanwhile, showed impressive composure. When asked later, she simply said it was a good take, foul with no malicious intent.
Now, basketball 101, if somebody has a wide open layup and you have a foul to give, it is in your best interest to foul that shooter so that they don't get an easy 2 points. And what Caitlin said during an interview with Holly Rowe, she essentially said it was either Angel gets a wide open layup or we send her to the free throw line. It was a basketball play. There was nothing malicious behind it. I just knew I had to foul her hard. And that is exactly what it looked like to me. She went for the ball, she went across her body. Now Angel got tied up in it and she did fall down.
Reese's reaction told a very different story. The instant the call was upgraded, she strode toward Clark with frustration clearly etched on her face. Her body language shouted confrontation, shoulders squared, jaw clenched, eyes locked on Clark. This wasn't just about a foul call. Reese was sending a clear message that she wouldn't be intimidated by the Indiana star.
Angel Reese gets up, Aaliyah Boston shoves her, gives her a little stiffy. Hey, don't come at Caitlin. But look at her, Angel Reese upset. Oh my gosh. Hey man, this was hilarious. Look, Angel Reese was pissed. Look at her, she was still going out there a little bit. Look, took the jersey out. Well, what's going on?
Crew Chief Roy Gabayan later defended the flagrant call in the pool report, saying it wasn't a legitimate basketball play and involved unnecessary contact. But what happened next revealed exactly what kind of team the Fever have become. Aaliyah Boston immediately stepped between Clark and Reese, physically placing herself as a shield to protect her teammate. Boston's intervention earned her a technical foul. Yet that moment made something clear. This Fever team wasn't just Clark's supporting cast. They were a united front, ready to stand together when challenged.
I thought Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark were cool. But I don't know, man. The way Angel got up, she was like, Look at her. Ooh. I mean, she was getting after it, fam. Oh my goodness. Now, the funny thing was Caitlin Clark sniffing, walking away. Hold on, let me see if I can get a good angle. Yeah, look. watch Caitlin Clark's face right here. Watch this.
Meanwhile, the Chicago Sky bench exploded at the confrontation, clearly hoping this moment would disrupt Clark's rhythm and shift momentum their way. Players jumped up, coaches clapped, and for a brief instant, their energy surged as they sensed a chance to claw back into the game. What unfolded during those tense seconds revealed everything about both players. Clark stayed composed, refusing to engage in any back and forth. Reese, meanwhile, seemed bent on making a physical and mental statement. One player was locked on the scoreboard, the other on asserting dominance in their personal duel. This attempt to unsettle Clark would turn out to be a disastrous miscalculation by Reese and the Sky. Instead of intimidating the superstar, Reese had unknowingly ignited a fuse that would blow up in her face over the next 15 minutes of play. The confrontation didn't rattle Clark. It unleashed her.
She came away with 20 points, 4 blocks, that's a career high for her, 2 steals, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds. Like, who are you, Caitlin Clark?
If Angel Reese believed she could intimidate Caitlin Clark, what followed must have felt like a nightmare playing out in real time. The confrontation didn't shake Clark. It turned her into a basketball force the Chicago Sky couldn't counter. Rather than faltering under pressure, Clark raised her game to a whole new level. On the very next possession, after the flagrant foul, she calmly dribbled up the court, signaled for a screen, and sank a three-pointer that sent Gainbridge Fieldhouse into a frenzy. The message was unmistakable: I'm not backing down.
Hey, look. One thing about this Indiana Fever team, you better come correct, man. Because if you try to do anything to anybody, look over your shoulder, man. Look over your shoulder. Because somebody is coming with some get back. They are taking up for each other. Even Stephanie White got hot.
With the crowd now fully fired up and behind her, Clark led the Fever offense with surgical precision. She delivered no-look passes to cutters that seemed impossible. She attacked the lane, drawing defenders before kicking out to open teammates. When defenders backed off, she punished them with step-back threes that had fans leaping from their seats. Her stat line started filling up across the board. Clark wasn't just scoring. She grabbed rebounds over taller opponents, blocked shots at the rim, jumped passing lanes for steals, and set up teammates for easy baskets.
Caitlin Clark is back with revenge and not taking any mess. You understand me? Trip dub Caitlin Clark for the first game. Oh my gosh, a blowout win, ridiculous.
The roar inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse swelled with every electrifying moment from Clark. Every basket she sank, every steal she snatched, every relentless hustle play sent the crowd into a frenzy, an unstoppable wave of noise and passion. The energy pulsing through the arena built an overwhelming home court fortress that crushed the Sky spirit more and more with every ticking second.
You know, I love talking about Caitlin Clark on this show, and she participated in some kind of LPGA Pro-Am, drew monster crowds. There's pictures of just like everybody trying to get an autograph with Caitlin Clark.
Outrageous criticism, media frenzy, and a string of headlines. It's safe to say that Caitlin Clark has been at the center of controversy over the past few months. In a move that caught everyone off guard, Clark struck a headline-making deal with the LPGA, calling her WNBA legacy into question and sparking debates about loyalty, fame, and ambition.
One more key photo.
Caitlin, Tree Monaco. Great to meet you. Looking forward to the afternoon together. Okay, go. Come on.
Hug it out. Squeeze in close together. We'll get one right here, please.
Speaking of which, the Caitlin Clark effect is starting to take shape. After delivering what could be the best rookie season in NBA history, she made the unexpected move to female golf, where she's now being heralded as the next big thing. But how did Clark manage to conquer 2 worlds in just 8 months? And why are critics calling her success a betrayal of women's basketball? In this video, we'll break down everything from Caitlin Clark's new deal to the backlash and everything surrounding her controversial journey. But before we dive in, let's take a trip down memory lane. At the start of the year, the Caitlin Clark effect was undeniable. Even before she set foot on a WNBA court, ticket sales for every platform skyrocketed by over 90% once she declared for the draft. Her performance in the league has been nothing short of outstanding. In her rookie season with the Indiana Fever, she averaged 19 points per game, scoring at least 13 points in 29 of her 36 games this year. What's even more surprising are her record-breaking feats, becoming the first player in WNBA history to hit over 100 3-point shots and rack up 300 assists in a single season. At this point, NBA analysts were already calling her a generational talent, but Clark's influence wasn't just reflected in the numbers, it was in the stands as well. Every week, Fever games turned into must-watch events, with fans traveling from across the country to see her play. She brought an entirely new audience to the WNBA. Meanwhile, Reese wasn't just riding the wave of hype, she was making her own history, becoming the first rookie to record an all-star game, double-double, the first WNBA player to achieve back-to-back 20-rebound games, and pulling off an impressive 24 double-doubles in her rookie season. While others are still trying to catch up, Reese is reshaping the game, and Clark has done more than just elevate the league's profile. However, while Clark was drawing record crowds, boosting TV ratings, and breathing new life into women's basketball, the WNBA failed to make her the face of the league. As a result, Caitlin Clark is now taking her talents and fan base elsewhere. Enter her debut at an LPGA Pro-Am, which drew bigger crowds than some of the tour's main events. At this point, she's not just rewriting the narrative in basketball, she's also making waves in women's golf. Playing alongside world #1 Nelly Korda at the Pelican Golf Club's Annika Pro-Am, Clark showed that her influence extends far beyond the basketball court. If anyone thought her dominance was limited to the hardwood, her impressive performance on the greens has now silenced many doubters. When Caitlin Clark stepped onto the Pelican Golf Club course, it was clear this wasn't just another golfer taking their turn. The LPGA capitalized on the moment by pairing Clark with Nelly Korda, a marketing move that spotlighted both players as generational talents. The anticipation was electric, and even the Golf Channel rearranged its programming to cover her live, something unheard of for a Pro-Am event. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark took the spotlight in Florida, drawing massive crowds, and once again, proving that her star power extends well beyond the basketball court. Alongside Korda, Clark played with tournament host Annika Sorenstam, teeing off at the crack of dawn and launching an early shot into the gallery. Fans were glued to her every move at Pelican Golf Club. The WNBA Rookie of the Year's presence drove ticket sales and boosted media attention for the event. After the round, she was swarmed for autographs, and with an endorsement deal from Gainbridge, the LPGA tournament's sponsor, and a role in a women's leadership summit, it was clear her presence was far from casual. While Clark insists that golf is her escape, her single long-range putt left fans wondering, is she just playing for fun, or is she quietly taking over yet another sport? One thing is clear, the LPGA is thriving on Caitlin Clark's star power in a way the WNBA could only dream of. The media and golf elite couldn't stop singing her praises. 8-time LPGA champion Nelly Korda, who played alongside Clark, had nothing but admiration for her after the game, praising her skills and presence on the course.
It was so amazing. She's so sweet, so nice. It was nice to kind of get to spend some time with her. We've messaged a little on Instagram beforehand, but to get to spend some time with her and to see the influence that she has on people, bringing people out here, and to see how amazing of an influence she is.
The praise didn't stop with Nelly Korda. LPGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan was equally blown away, calling Caitlin Clark's performance incredible and applauding her passion for the game. Overall, Clark's presence on the course didn't just spark excitement, it stirred up drama. Her growing star power now threatens to overshadow seasoned pros in yet another sport. Is Caitlin Clark the crossover phenom golf never knew it needed? Or is this a sign that women's sports are evolving faster than their leagues can keep up? At this point, it's clear Clark isn't slowing down anytime soon. However, not everyone is cheering for Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise. While Korda and Monahan praised her for uniting fans across sports, insiders in the WNBA are reportedly seething over her crossover success. The LPGA's full-court press to spotlight Clark has left some in the WNBA feeling left behind. Insiders claim league officials are frustrated, not only by the LPGA's success, but also because the WNBA has failed to fully capitalize on Clark's star power. Social media lit up with clips of her swings, and national basketball and golf media flocked to the event. Tournament host and golf legend Annika Sorenstam captured the moment perfectly, highlighting Clark's undeniable impact on the sport. For better or worse, Caitlin Clark is rewriting the playbook for crossover stardom and shaking up women's sports in the process. Despite questions about her commitment to golf, it was revealed she's been swinging clubs since childhood. After making her 2023 debut at the John Deere Classic alongside major champion Zach Johnson, Clark's appearance at the Pelican Golf Club proved one thing: her crossover appeal is no fluke. Meanwhile, WNBA enthusiasts are rumored to feel overshadowed by Clark's dominance on the golf course, despite her record-breaking rookie season on the basketball court. While golf fans flock to see her tee off and whispers of a potential LPGA contract swirl, WNBA fans are left asking why their league hasn't given Clark the same level of attention. Take her Rookie of the Year award, for example. Rather than a grand celebration for her groundbreaking achievements, it was handed out in a nearly empty arena with little fanfare. A baffling move for someone who has done more to elevate the league in one season than most players do in a career. As the buzz around Clark's golf ventures intensifies, the WNBA's failure to capitalize on her star power becomes increasingly obvious. The LPGA has done what the WNBA couldn't. They turned Caitlin Clark's star power into a game changer. But here's the irony. Caitlin's rise should be a win for everyone. She has brought unprecedented attention to women's sports. Yet, while the LPGA embraced the moment and ran with it, the WNBA stayed stuck in its old ways, hesitant, overly cautious, and failing to seize the bold opportunity. When a male NBA or NFL star steps into another sport, social media explodes with hype. This was the WNBA's chance to do the same, celebrate Clark, ride the wave of excitement, and prove they can champion their biggest stars. Instead, they fumbled. Now, the league finds itself at a crossroads, grappling with a familiar issue: how to balance promoting standout players like Clark while still pushing the league forward as a whole. The LPGA made its move and won. Meanwhile, the WNBA risks being left in the dust, overshadowed by a star they didn't know how to celebrate. As Clark juggles her intense off-season training while fielding interest from the rapidly growing 3-on-3 women's basketball league, her crossover into golf raises an even bigger question. Is Caitlin Clark reshaping women's sports? Or is she quietly stepping away from basketball altogether?
Loyola University basketball coach Cheryl Swoops, she's under investigation, accused of mistreating players. One of them is speaking out this morning, telling us why she wanted to transfer. ABC's Lindsay Davis is here with the details. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning, Lara. Cheryl Swoops was the first woman to ever sign with the WNBA. But this morning, the college coach is not only under fire, but under investigation after reports that the majority of her roster has decided to leave.
They fired her. They didn't just replace Cheryl Swoops, they booted her out. And why? Because of Caitlin Clark.
There's a lot of other going on that players are like, this ain't where I want to be.
Over there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some new shit going on around there.
It's a lot. So you have players that are very significant on this Indiana Fever team that are like, I don't
want to be here.
This is where I want to be.
Yeah. Now listen.
Months ago, Swoops sat on her high horse, predicting disaster for the Indiana Fever. She, Miss Caitlin Clark, boldly claimed no one would want to play in Indiana and confidently declared that top-tier talent would never sign there.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. As always, appreciate your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Let's go. So I wanted to do a little bit of a dive into the Fever roster, what that looks like. Now that we've gotten through the bulk of the free agency offseason, we've seen a lot of changes.
Fast forward to today, and the Fever just made the most game-changing free agency move in WNBA history.
The way they came back the second game, it just makes you excited to, okay, I want to be a part of that. They didn't lay down and quit. They came back and actually tried to beat us early, that next game. So.
Superstar signings, game changers, and swoops.
So y'all can record this, you cannot record it, but the biggest thing I want everybody to hear me say right now.
She's been strangely silent. Ever seen someone talk a big game, then disappear? That's exactly what's going down right now. Indiana just dropped a statement that's sending ripples through the entire league, and we're here to dissect every bit of it.
All right, Hoop Queens, gather around because we've got some major tea brewing in the WNBA. Indiana Fever just landed Brianna Turner in free agency. Brianna Turner, let that sink in.
Before we dive into the good stuff, take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Keep up with all the latest WNBA news, expert analysis, and the drama you won't get anywhere else. Now, let's get into it.
But I think you're starting to get a little bit more shine from maybe the casual fan and maybe some folks who maybe didn't know or haven't seen Indiana as much as they've seen this year.
I agree.
So what's that part like, getting that little bit more attention and getting a little bit more shine and getting the recognition that...
The Indiana Fever just shook up free agency like never before. They didn't just add players, they built a juggernaut. You know that feeling when you go all out in franchise mode on a video game? Well, that's exactly what Indiana just did. They went all in, loading up their roster with seasoned champions, fierce competitors, and players who've got both game and attitude. This wasn't just another offseason, it was a full-on power play.
Yes. Wait. Yep. You look good on me, huh? Look good. Like a whole 360. Like, I think I was talking to my wife about it. I'm like, man, what if I go back to Indiana where I started? That would be crazy. Look where I'm at.
First up, they snagged Natasha Howard, a 3-time WNBA champion and one of the fiercest defensive forces around. Howard doesn't just defend, she shuts players down. Her ability to lock down anyone, protect the rim, and control the boards takes Indiana's defense to a whole new level.
Going for your services, Dewana, so why was this the right opportunity for you?
I just feel like it was the location for one. My kids are literally right up the road, and I've spent a lot of time away from them, so that and the core that they have here now is just kind of want to fit in, and be another piece of the puzzle, and hopefully bring the energy dynamic and take us to a different level in the playoffs.
Next up, they brought in Dewana Bonner, a scoring powerhouse who's a nightmare for any defender. Bonner adds leadership, championship pedigree, and that clutch gene that turns the Fever into a serious playoff contender.
In Sophie Cunningham, the Indiana Fever are trading for a multi-dimensional wing, capable of knocking down the 3-ball.
Cunningham is starting to cook. Cunningham 3 is good. Cunningham from the corner.
Locking down defenders.
Several deflections, and this time she gets the steal and the N1 opportunity.
And they weren't finished yet. Enter Sophie Cunningham, a walking spark plug, bold, trash-talking, and always ready to ignite her team and the crowd. She thrives in clutch moments, playing with a chip on her shoulder, exactly the kind of energy Indiana was craving. And to cap it all off, they added Sydney Colson, a seasoned vet with championship DNA, the kind of player who holds it all together behind the scenes. Colson's leadership in the locker room will be just as vital as what she brings on the court. This isn't just a team full of talent, it's a roadmap to success. The Fever didn't sit around waiting for greatness. They went out and created it.
And that's where you brought up the Fever. I think what I've learned in my WNBA experience is pace of play trumps physicality, it trumps size, it can trump experience, because a lot of times when you're experienced, it's really like code word for your veteran, which is code word for your old.
Slow the pace.
Yeah. So I feel like
I know that's why you guys were so good for those
in
years.
2018 and 2020, the years we won, that was our whole mantra, was pace, 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 pace. And what I see in Caitlin.
For months, the media pushed the same old story. Nobody wants to play for Indiana. The franchise was labeled a dead zone, a place elite players wouldn't even think about. Analysts wrote off the Fever, critics laughed off any chance of big signings, and Cheryl Swoops all but mocked the idea of Indiana drawing in top-tier free agents. To most, the Fever were just another struggling team with no real appeal in the league.
Her face, unable to hit. Bree Jones, another 0 board for Connecticut. Better look for Mabry. Off the mark.
But here we are now. Indiana didn't just sign free agents, they snagged some of the top talent out there. The same team everyone claimed couldn't draw stars just assembled one of the most lethal rosters in the WNBA. Natasha Howard, DeWanna Bonner, Sophie Cunningham, Sydney Colson. These aren't just bodies filling spots. These are game changers, battle-tested vets, players who could have signed anywhere but chose Indiana. That alone smashes the false narrative about the Fever being a dead-end destination. Now, the same analysts who wrote them off are scrambling. That nobody wants to play there, take, gone, like expired milk. The entire perception of the Fever flipped overnight, and it all boils down to one undeniable truth. They built a culture players want to be part of. With Caitlin Clark in the mix, a front office making bold moves, and a roster that's suddenly one of the league's best, Indiana isn't just back, they're a problem.
Oh, it's a triple-double for Caitlin. What a reaction by Kelsey. Well, how about the knowledgeable fans in this building? They burst out of their seats like it was a game winner.
Let's cut to the chase. This is the Caitlin Clark effect. Plain and simple. Caitlin Clark isn't just any rookie trying to find her footing in the league. She's a franchise-changing force. The kind of player who doesn't just lift her team, but redefines the entire WNBA landscape. The Indiana Fever, a team that's been stuck in the mud for years, is suddenly the most talked about squad in the league, and that's no fluke. Clark's arrival has turned this franchise into a destination, one that's not only worth watching, but one that top players actually want to join.
So when you talk about the young girls that came in, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, rookie class, really hyping up the league coming from college to the WNBA, what has that done for you and the buzz of this entire league?
I think it's so positive. I really do. I think it's a fun time to be a part of the W. I truly believe that. I think the skill and the talent has always been there, but now it's just the viewership. And so I give a big old clap to the rookie class. I think that's a lot to deal with when you're at that age and you have that many eyes on you. But I think they've done a great job in the league as well. I think the physicality and all that they're going to get used to, but I think especially Caitlin Clark, she's been killing it.
When Sophie Cunningham signed with Indiana, she didn't sugarcoat it. Caitlin Clark was a factor. Players aren't just hearing about Clark's insane shooting range or flashy assists. They're hearing about her leadership, her competitive edge, and her ability to elevate those around her. That's the kind of player you want to play with. She's a magnet, drawing both talent and attention to a team that used to be flying under the radar.
I'm going to use her word. I want to see her continue to be a dog, because she is a dog. Here's what I'll say about Angel. I love the fact that she's just her. right? And she says she's unapologetically Angel. She plays hard, both ends of the floor. It doesn't matter what the score is. The thing that I think people question wasn't so much about her game or her rebounding, but it was the scoring. And the fact that she is either averaging or almost averaging a double-double is pretty impressive to do from anybody, but in particular a rookie. I just love how she's come into this league. She's embraced the bumps, the bruises. She's embraced the good with the bad. And I love watching her play because she plays hard the entire game.
Let's talk about Sheryl Swoops. She thought Clark was overhyped. Just another college standout who'd take years to make her mark in the pros. But the truth? Clark is already leading the league in assists, dropping 40-point games like it's no big deal, and flipping the power dynamics in the WNBA. Indiana isn't just improving, they're becoming a serious threat, and Clark's the one making it happen.
Pin down here, wide open.
Caitlin Clark's impact goes way beyond what's happening on the court. Yeah, she's lighting up defenses and setting records, but what's unfolding off the floor is just as game-changing. She's driving record ticket sales, smashing TV viewership numbers, and getting people to care about the WNBA like never before. Every Fever game feels like an event, and any matchup with Clark, must-watch TV. This isn't just a rising star. This is a movement.
Swoops has it, turns in the air for the game. Oh,
Before becoming one of the most electrifying players in WNBA history, Sheryl Swoops was a sensation on the college stage, leading Texas Tech to the 1993 NCAA title with a record-setting 47-point performance in the championship game.
Sheryl Swoops didn't see this coming. She thought Clark would have to earn her place, struggle, and prove herself over time. Instead, Clark stepped into the league and immediately took it by storm. Now, she's the main reason why the Indiana Fever has become the go-to spot for top-tier talent. Players want to team up with her, coaches want to build around her, and fans can't get enough. The old guard of the WNBA wasn't ready for this, but now they've got no choice but to accept it. For years, the WNBA waited for a player who could change the game, someone who could bring mainstream attention, pack arenas, and spark a real shift in the sport. The truth? That player's already here. Caitlin Clark isn't waiting her turn. She's rewriting the rules in real time,